Welcome to the first jump session of my 30s. Having gone into my 20s, never once grabbing the rim.
Literally, I don't know if he could touch the rim with his fingertips with no basketball or anything else.
Now going to my 30s, dunking so easily, but wanting to go into my 40s, jumping higher than I do right now. Obviously, I've figured some shit out, but I'm going to have to figure out even more. So let's look at the exact session I did. Got there, immediately did the zero program. So I went through that. That way, I feel like it's not necessarily so tiring for someone who's been through that. I feel like that could actually be a game-changing warm-up for even sports teams and stuff, because all I need is a wall. These things like tibialis raises and even knee over toe calf raise and stuff, you could use that on whole teams. You can use that as an individual. You have time before you actually start competing once you get to your location. So I went through the 8 basic steps of zero. Then I did a strategic little bridge between high intensity, max effort jumping and zero. So we know that these things can help us, jump without pain, but I feel like there's a good bridge warm up. So if we think about a 2-foot jump, you're going from sprinting to jumping, but it's not just straight. You actually, to have good form, you actually have like a twisting motion. So in terms of the warm up, I start with a backward sprint. So think, move your body backward as fast as you can. I kind of like to use the mats in the gym. So it's like you really just get your body going and you don't have like a ton of eccentric load. Like we're really just trying to get warm and get moving. So to me, backward sprinting itself is the bridge between zero and doing your sport without pain. And next week, I'm going to break down a full video just on that concept. So my thing is like you shouldn't even be running forwards if you can't sprint backwards with full effort without pain, you shouldn't be sprinting forwards, because by sprinting backwards, you actually get strong in the very muscles you need to rehabilitate the ability to run forwards. So someone could do what I'm saying as a rehab just with the backward sprinting. So my wife, Alyssa, she having had a baby, this and that, she's trying to use this as a rehab. So she did zero, and then she just did backward sprints. She didn't do then the rest of the warm-up and the jumping. So she's using that. It allows her to get in cardio, get in sprinting cardio, all that awesome stuff we want to get. But when we have knee pain, we often can't get that. Then we start to gain body fat, and all these problems happen. We get out of shape. Then we try to get back into shape, and we hurt our knees even worse. Or again, by trying to get back. I used to be in those cycles of getting out of shape, resting my knees, hurting my knees even worse, getting back out of shape. Anyways, so this simple concept of sprinting backwards. Now, I'm doing 4 reps of 4 different things. So I guess if you were sprinting backwards, you would do just 4 reps backwards, right? So I did my backwards. Then I move forward as fast as I can. So again, I don't think someone should be jumping unless they can not only sprint backwards as fast as they can, but also sprint forwards as fast as you can. Then I went sideways as fast as I can. But what I did to kind of keep the form to make it sideways is don't let the feet cross over each other and have the hands below the knees, meaning to be a good defensive player in a sport, if we take basketball, for example, if I'm not low enough for my hands to be below my knees, then someone can just dribble in front of me all they want. You allow the person to just walk all over you. If you don't have strong enough, healthy enough knees to have your hands below your knees constantly as how low you are, then you really shouldn't even be worrying about jumping. You should just be worrying about the basis of being able to go backwards as fast as you can, forwards as fast as you can, and sideways as fast as you strictly can. So boom, boom. So it's backwards, forwards, sideways, sideways the other way. 1 minute break. Again, 2-minute break. Again, 3-minute break. Again, that's it. So 4 rounds of 4 different drills, increasing the rest each time, because each time you kind of go even harder. You get winded even a little more because of how hard you went. So I feel like that gives now like an adequate bridge between zero and playing your sport or doing, a maximal effort activity like jumping. So if we add that up, 1-minute break plus 2-minute break plus 3-minute break, and then probably, closer to a 4-minute break, okay, there we go. It's about 10 minutes of resting, and then how much time are we moving? Probably at most 30 seconds or so. So we're talking 12 minutes. So did zero. That takes me at this stage maybe similar, about 12 minutes to go through. Obviously, it takes a lot longer when you're just getting started and feeling all these muscles turn on. I can just go through it now. So about 12 minutes. So it was really fast by the time I got, it came time to jump. I was already warmed up, really felt good. And so then I went for 20 maximum effort jumps, 10 off 1 foot, 10 off 2 foot. Now, I've been a proponent for a while of jump balance, meaning you could jump off your right leg, your left leg, right left plant, or left right plant. There's 4 jumps. However, I think that could actually almost be like advanced jump balance. If we regress back, could we stay balanced on 2 jumps? It's possible, and that's kind of what I'm testing out now as a dad and business owner with very little time to worry about my own jumping. How would we stay balanced? If you're right-handed, your 2-foot jump would be a right-left step, and your 1-foot jump would be a left leg step. The reason is that if you're right-handed and you're dunking or reaching, whether it's volleyball or basketball or whatever, when you reach as high as you can with your right hand, your right hip lifts, and so your left foot is closest to the ground. You're very often going to land through that left leg, knee over toes. That is a strong impact and stimulus that I think can be, if it's not overdone, if it's balanced, I think can be a positive thing to get an even more bulletproof and elastic leg. A perfect example of this, MJ did a lot. Russell Westbrook, such an aggressive dunker, right? He lands like crazy through that left leg, but look how he plays the game of basketball. Russell Westbrook's knee ability is absurd. Does that mean it's perfect or that he's going to have perfect knee health or that he does the drills that I do? No, but it just means if you look at the forces going into his knees, he can handle on a given night probably more force through his knees than anyone else on the court. He can play more aggressively. He can do more things. And so it doesn't mean that it's ideal to land through one leg, but it's happening to the top athletes. And it does feel natural when your body is outstretched because that leg is closest to the ground. So, strong knee over toe impact on the left, but if our 2-foot jump is a right-left step, the right knee has to go over the toes in order to jump high, meaning every high 2-foot jumper, that inside leg, the knee goes over the toes. So I think that could be considered beginner jump balance. A tougher example would be when you don't have the right-left, like a Derrick Rose who goes left-right off 2 and left leg off 1. He's now actually changed that a little bit as he's gotten older. But if you look at all his career dunks prior to his first ACL tear, only left-right off 2 foot and only left leg off 1 foot. That means that right knee is not getting over the toes. And he almost never landed through the right leg, very rarely. Over 9 out of 10 of his landings were that went through one leg, because he also sometimes landed on 2, were through the left leg. So the amount of intense knee over toe on the left leg compared to the right leg was so imbalanced for Derrick Rose, and actually quite balanced for Russell Westbrook and Michael Jordan and Damian Lillard. But again, it doesn't mean that there's no absolute of bulletproofing, nor is there an absolute of impact. An NBA game has a limit. It has a certain amount. You don't play 5 games a day, 365 days a year. You see what I mean? So I believe that you can get, relative to what's expected of us, I believe you can get superhuman bulletproofing just through sensible training. And this is what I'm going to use, because I'm only able to go to the court once every other week. So once every other week, in terms of the skill component of that jumping, that's what I'm going to try to do, is right left off 2 foot, left leg off 1 foot, and see if the impact on the body feels pretty balanced. I'm only sore in my VMOs today. 0, my body, it's like it didn't even know that I did, jumps yesterday. And honestly, I felt like I could have jumped all day. In terms of the actual session, I didn't use a basketball because I'm working on getting some of that rotation when I'm going off 2 feet, and getting that more like position like this rather than just straight on. So like as a non-jumper my whole life, I have like certain jump habits, right? So I'm trying. It's not great yet, but I'm trying to. I'm going to be working on that rotation off 2 feet, and then off 1 foot. I went from not being a jumper to being a 2 foot jumper to then years later being like, oh my God, I need to try to become jump off 1. So the mechanics between 1 and 2 are very different. When you jump off 1, you need to keep pulling the ground. If we look at MJ dunking from the foul line, we see he does a beautiful job of continuing to pull the ground. So his thigh goes like this and the knee comes up, and he's really using that posterior chain to the fullest. So if I remove the basketball and I really try to use that posterior chain and get that angle in the air, then it creates a much more fluid jump than just stomping downwards, right? So I have to learn. I'm used to just using my knees and just muscling dunks from my raw, knee power that I've built. Now I'm trying to actually learn the grace of jumping. So the twisting motion on the 2 foot and the pulling motion on the 1 foot, these are, I'm used to just using raw knee power, not using the grace into it. So using that Michael Jordan grace is what I'm thinking about now. Some guy, I didn't even have a basketball, so there was a guy nice enough there. I had to at least throw down a dunk in my 30s, and like, I wish I could have just stayed there, keeping on dunking. But so I'm even applying that to myself. I think you just really focus on one thing at a time in a jump session. So I'm working on my actual jump technique. I'm working on jumping high. Now I probably will bring a basketball next time and throw myself a self lob. If you're not used to throwing a self lob, just grab a dodgeball. So you really have just no ball at all. Then you have a self lob where you can still kind of think about your mechanics. And then in the middle, you have like just holding a dodgeball. So it's really like you don't have to think about anything. And I would say when you're happy with your jump, then go ahead and work on the dribbling into it. You see what I mean? So I would stage it in those 4 categories. No ball at all, small ball, self lob or partner lob, and then actually working on the dribbling. So that's what I got out of this session. I've never had a smoother, easier warm-up process than 0 followed by that 4 sets of 4-way warm-up with progressive rests. And then I'm now trying a beginner version of jump balance to see if I can do that more minimalistically. And then as I get the jumps I want, who knows where I'll go with it. So hope this helped you. I'll be back in touch in 2 weeks with my 30-year-old dunk vlog number 2.